Bibbity bibbity bop. Here's on his way. And chug and chug and chug and surf. Chug, chug, chug and surf. All right. That's how you do it, people. You surf to the left, you surf to the right, and you chug.
I mean, it is the week before, Halloween's next week and all that. So gotta get your
with your stuff. Ooh, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, people?
Hopefully they're gonna tune in and listen to us.
Listen to us. Yes.
Here it is, your weekly dose of entertainment, movies, games, and random life conversations with us here in Hampton Roads. As always, it is
sir.
Me, Scuba Steve, and Ry.
Ry guy, right here.
So yeah, we got a couple of things to talk about tonight.
A little bit, little
Halloween themed stuff. We're rolling in a new sound set for tonight. So let's start off with a shout out to Sirenscape.
All right.
Go to Sirenscape.com to check out their web player or different apps you can download for your mobile devices. They have a huge library of sound sets and background music you can use for your tabletop games. Because it's getting close to Halloween, and why not? Yep. We're going with a sound set from their Call of Cthulhu collection.
Ooh.
Specifically Iceland. In chapter 5 of one of the games.
That's cool.
I kind of like it. It's got a good sound to it.
It's an aura, has a spookiness, but a mystery. Are you really in trouble, people, or not?
So we're gonna do that because there are definitely some mysteries in some of our conversations today.
What are we gonna do?
I don't know, but I don't know if we'll solve the mysteries or summon the old one.
I ain't solving anything, so I'll probably be running.
Well, if we do, we know we can definitely call for some backup. But anyways, on that, so check out Sirenscape.com. We've been using it for the podcast for years now. They're great tool, great resource, great people.
Check them out.
Sirenscape.com.
Yep.
So yeah, man, where do we want to start?
I don't know. What kind of shenanigans can we start with?
Well, I went over to a friend's house for a birthday. My daughter had a party here this past weekend. And I went over to a friend's house to celebrate his birthday this weekend and help my dad hang some storm doors during the day because,
there you go.
It's nice to help my dad out when I can, But the Saturday evening with over at my friend's house was definitely a lot of fun. It was probably the first time I didn't leave stumbling drunk.
Well, that's a good thing.
It is. I mean,
leave feeling good.
Drinks were had, but I think my size was in my favor.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, it was a lot of fun. We played some cornhole, learn a little bit more how that cornhole game works. I still suck at it.
Yeah, it happens. I suck at it too.
But it was. I mean, one of the other guys there, he brought over this bottle of bourbon. It's like a Wild Turkey, 116 proof, 750 milliliter bottle, and the three of us. The intent,
people, put that in quotes here. Intent.
The intent was to only have a couple of drinks and be done with the bottle. Yeah, we killed the bottle.
Yeah, that's what usually happens.
That wasn't the only thing we were drinking too.
Yeah.
Like one guy, he was having Coronas. I was having a mixed drink. I couldn't even tell you what was in it.
All it was infused with some juicy stuff.
Over the summer, I brought salad in over there.
Yeah.
And I think I've told the story before, but I'll tell it again just for context. You gotta know who your friends are.
Gotta know them.
So I brought Saladin over, and we were there for a graduation party because our kids hang out together and blah blah blah. And he made he made a couple of drinks for us. I'll call them the beach bums.
All right.
Love y'all, but with Papa Beach Bum there, he started making us mixed drinks, right? And afterwards, we get home and Saladin is here, and he's not in a good space. It's like, no, dude, you're not driving, because he's standing there kind of doing the wobble thing, and it was like, all right, do this. It's like, you know, it's like when you get into that mindset, it's like, you know, some tasks your body can do, but your brain isn't quite there. So it's like, okay, hey, help me do this task. Help me do this task. Right. And he was good. And after about an hour, he was able to head home because he had, you know, processed it. But he made a comment that the drinks that Papa Beach Bum was making us was dangerous because it tasted good. I looked at him. I said, "Do you realize you're screwed from the start?" He goes, "Why?" Papa Beach Bum used to own a bar and be the bartender, and he just like, okay.
Yep, that's what I call the dangerous drinks. The drinks you can't taste it.
When I go over there, and you know, good, bad, or ugly, again, trust who you're hanging out with. This can burn you.
Trust people, trust.
You must trust who you're hanging out with, and if you're partaking in adult beverages, be responsible. So when I go over there, and it's the, okay, what would you like to drink? I said, I'll take a mixed drink if you're doing them. He's like, all right. I mean, of course, it's a tumbler. I can't see through it. I don't know what's in it. And he goes, what do you want in it? I said, bartender's choice. May I live and die by that statement.
Yes.
And because you never know what you're gonna get. I was at a party for a friend years ago, and it was he asked me, what did I want to drink? I said, dealer's preference. Oh boy.
Yeah, it sounds like you
must be careful with that statement.
Yeah, it sounds like it hit a certain way.
It will make or break you. It will make or break you. But you know, overall it was good. I mean, he was the one. It was like when he was done, we were all done and we were left. So it was like a three amigos hangout kind of deal. Nice, chill Saturday evening, which is great. I don't get many of those very often. Because I was just gonna sit at home, play Earthbound, and watch my YouTube feed. Like right now, hey, since we're talking about Sirenscape, let's plug a show they're sponsoring called for Cyberpunk.
All right.
Yeah, it's been going on for a while. I know one of the players of the game, Brandon from Realmsmith, great guy. And I've been meaning, and when I saw him up in Canada a few weeks ago, I was like, you know, where should I jump in on this? Because I apologize, I've been remiss, I haven't been following your show, and I really should, because you know, creator to creator and whatnot. And he was telling me about some of the episodes they were going through. Now, this is a live play show based in the Cyberpunk Red tabletop game, which is of course the inspiration for Cyberpunk on the consoles, the Cyberpunk cartoon on Netflix, which I heard was really good.
Yeah, it was.
And the guy running the game, he founded Cyberpunk Unleashed, and it's this great game. And I think I've on the second season of it, and they're like hour and a half, 3 hour, hour and a half, 2 hour episodes of just live play Cyberpunk. And Brandon plays this guy. His name's Rush. He's a fixer, and he has this cowboy hat, the southern drawl, and different sunglasses he keeps changing out. And it's just,
that's cool.
And there's Alley Cat, and then who's like a social media person in Night City, a couple of the others, and it's just like, it's so funny to listen to them and go through it. And of course they all have the different makeups and whatnot for Cyberpunk, but it's fun. So I've been binging that, and just kind of letting it play in the background while I'm working on things. But this one is like, I went to hang out there. Now my daughter's party apparently went well, so nobody was hurt or otherwise.
Thumbs up.
Yes. And now she wants to do another one next month for her birthday.
Okay.
Her birthday falls at a weird point in the month, so we're it's always fun. It's always fun scheduling that.
Yeah.
And so we'll see how that goes. But anyway, I'm running my mouth. Ry, what have you been doing, my man?
I have not been doing other than, the work stuff, the school stuff, busy, because the further you get in semester, the busier it gets. But this past weekend, they had the art festival down at the
I
beach.
saw a couple of pictures on Instagram for that. How was it?
Oh yeah, it's fun. It's the art festival is put on by MoCA, and MoCA is the Museum of Contemporary Art, the art museum in Virginia Beach. And this is the other festival opposite of the Neptune Festival, which also has art and a lot of other vendors. So that got canceled, but hey, there's still all the MoCA one going on, so I made sure to check that out. Went down there and actually got a painting from a Japanese artist. So it was a painting of some mountains done in a specific aesthetic, and I made sure this time I was gonna buy it when I saw it. So I did. And then shuck some oysters at the Atlantic restaurant down at the beach. Other than that, just schoolwork and work, and that's pretty much it. That's my life right now.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we're kind of in a lull right now.
Oh yeah. So,
but Halloween's next week, so we got some Halloween content for y'all.
Yes.
I got a couple of reviews we're going to talk about. So let's see. Work Shenanigans, our Festival Shenanigans. Yeah, let's go ahead and jump into those reviews.
Yeah, let's go see if we can channel our inner power.
Yeah.
And power it up.
Power it up. All right. So, first review for the night is going to be the new Dwayne Johnson film, Black Adam.
The one
that's been in development hell for the last 15 years.
Yeah, I think you
Finally
times that by infinity, but that's just sarcastic.
All right. So this dropped this past weekend as we're recording this. DC's latest entry in their film franchise films and Warner Brothers DC and whatnot. And like I said, this is one we've been waiting to see, where The Rock plays the titular hero, anti-hero.
Many
Black
eons
Adam.
ago.
And both Ryan and I saw this over the weekend, and
it sounds like you're not feeling it, my friend.
it's hard to get where you start, because for me the film was very forgettable. Yeah, I mean, but so before we get into that, let's let Ry do his synopsis for his review on this film, and then we'll get into our impressions after watching it. So Ry, let's get the
all right. So the quick Ry guy rundown. So Black Adam stars, as everybody knows, our famous wrestler Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and he stars in the role of Black Adam. So you have a little epilogue, but the film takes place in modern day Kandak, and is being controlled by a paramilitary group. So what happens is that the citizens are living on fragile hope, hopefully that their hero will come back to save the day. And then through some convenient plot devices, Black Adam gets awoken. And pretty much throughout the film, he must decide, will he fight for good or will he fight to conquer all? So on the basics, like Scuba said, it's basically kind of like a throwaway film. This film is just a basic outline of the redundancy that you've seen in the comic book genre. Think of like early aughts comic book films where it's all just fast-paced action and whatnot. Pretty much the script is, and I'm just going to be layman's terms, terrible. What keeps it up is certain characters and certain actors where you see their charisma lift very lethargic dialogue that makes you enjoy some of the interactions, some of the actions, and it helps to kind of alleviate that little painful dynamic. And also the pacing. It goes pretty fast, so you kind of ignore some of the fragility of it.
The pacing on this one is very good. You're not spending a lot of time dwelling. You get into it and you hit the ground running from beginning to end, all the way through to the post credit, which were I mean, hell, they spoiled the post credit over the weekend. So if you don't know, you don't know. But if you know, you know. But anyway, so
did it happen? I'm just joking.
But here's the thing, though. It's like this movie is the pacing on this movie is great. The action is kind of rinse and repeat. Change a few color palette, but it's kind of a rinse and repeat. Yeah. Action sequences and whatnot. A couple of low hanging fruit jokes. Like the one from the commercial where the guy hits the Rock with the baton and the baton bends. Yep. And then he goes to swing again, and then he gets thrown out into the I mean, all of that there, but there's some the cast is really what saves this in terms of, like you said, very lethargic, very kind of minimal character development, and which is a shame considering these characters in the comics are so much more than what we're seeing on screen.
Yep. So you have one of the ones is a Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate. I forget who plays Hawkman, but pretty much everybody in the Justice Society, you have some unique individuals, and they're able to lift very basic archetype characters just because of their own charisma, which is a staple of Dwayne Johnson as Black Adam, because what it is, this dynamic between Black Adam and the Justice Society actually brings about that dangling of certain themes of what is a hero, what should we be fighting for. But the thing is,
the hero's journey template.
Yeah. So what it does is that it dangles it there, but it doesn't do anything with it. And if it wasn't for the pacing, it would make the methodicalness through this journey even more worse than what it was.
Yeah, it's like we have the hero's journey, we have the fish out of water kind of, or a man out of time.
Yep.
Kind of thing with Dwayne, with the Black Adam. He's been entombed for 5,000 or 3,000 years, and whatnot. And then you have the Justice Society, which starts off really well.
Yep.
They start off great. You get kind of this. We've seen this before in other team up type things where it's like, all right, you have the leader of the team is telling the director, in this case it's Amanda Waller.
Yeah.
Who anybody else? I mean, who, seriously, it's like, but it's the, oh yeah, here's this person, they have these skills, and you see their introduction. And you have, because we had Cyclone, we had Atom Smasher, and we had Dr. Fate.
Yeah.
And it's like we have these three plus Hawkman and all of that, but it's like it's one of those, like, you get excited for the potential, you get excited for the fact that they really put a lot of layers into this, because I'm thinking about it, it's like the Atom Smasher, and then you have that brief blink and you miss it cameo.
Yeah.
For Atom Smasher. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You gotta,
I know what you're talking about.
I'm talking to the people listening and watching, if you're watching this on YouTube. But anyways, but out of that, after a while, it's just, the movie is very forgettable.
Yeah, it doesn't do much. It leaves you with threads of wantingness. It leaves you with a layer. At least the strong points is watching Black Adam trying to adjust and figure out his place in this world, his place among that team, and his place for the society of conduct. So,
I don't really say he's going to be part of the team, but I think there's some subtle growth, but it's so subtle you really don't notice it. But I was comparing this to Jurassic World Dominion.
I hated that movie, people.
I know you hate. I'm not a big fan of it either.
Yeah.
But the comparison I'm making to this one is the fact that both of those films, while you're there in the theater watching it, are really cool. There's a lot of great cutout scenes that you can use for trailers and promos and all that. It's great. But when the film is done and you walk out of the theater and you think back on it, what images and sequences burn into your head that you haven't seen at nauseum through the trailers?
Yeah. So it's like one of those things, is like when, with film, you're going to be rehashing a lot of stuff or a lot of tropes. It's all about execution. Can you execute it? Can you make the redundancy original and fresh in some way, shape, or form? In this film, it doesn't. It gives you that superhero film filled with a lot of good action, and that's pretty much it. It's like watching a fighting game with good cutscenes, if I were to use a good comparison.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, that is definitely fair. You could definitely feel that pacing. Yeah. Fight scene, dialogue, fight scene, dialogue, fight scene, dialogue. Yeah. I mean, you have but there is something with this one which is unique, which is something you don't see very often. That's a fourth act.
It's a
where
rare.
You think the film ends, it's not where the film actually ends. It still follows the rules of a short story. Of any element it introduced, it did follow up with that element by the end of the film. Yeah,
it did complete it, but it was just like, oh yeah, let's wrap this up.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot to go.
No.
I think this film really falls apart in the fact that there isn't enough explanation, or the explanation for certain elements is not woven into the dialogue, the scenery, and the setup.
Yep.
In a way that answers those questions. Like, we've seen great examples of this, whether it's the scene, or there's some details on the walls, or the background gives you an idea of helps tell the story.
Yep.
Or the dialogue, where it's like the dialogue is you just happen to. My favorite dialogue exposition is ones where you feel like they're having a conversation and you literally walk into the middle of it and you just get sucked into the conversation.
Yeah.
As opposed to those elements and those sequences where it's like the only reason they're explaining it is because somewhere at some point they realize they're a movie and they have to do this.
Yeah. It's basically, there is a foreshadowing element because they do introduce this A to connect to B so it can wrap around to C. A good explanation is like, this is, it's okay to have good popcorn flick, but at the same time, you need to add something worth watching. A good example, I'm going to reference back to Top Gun Maverick, is that is a blockbuster popcorn film, but it had depth and character, and you don't need to develop it like a drama. Example is when Maverick is walking, or gets thrown out of the bar, not walking, gets thrown out of the bar. He gets up, he looks through the window and sees Rooster playing the piano. And then he looks back down, and then you see Jennifer Connelly's character look out the window and watch him, and then just see the expression. No dialogue, no nothing, no in-depth, but you got what that meant, and it led into further things in the film.
Yeah, you as the audience, you're seeing the flashback of that, but as if you were in the room, it's seeing in his face all of those emotions.
Yeah. That's what you call explaining without exposition and still popping up that popcorn fun.
Yeah,
so,
you get a lot of that. I mean,
you don't get that in Black Adam.
No,
you just get
not really.
fights, talk, yay.
Yeah, so I mean, they do cover the story and everything really well. It kind of lets you with a couple of red herrings here and there. So I got to give them credit for that. But there are characters that feel rather useless in this film. It feels like you could have. This could have been more if there was a bit more exposition, a little bit more summary.
Yeah, if they took out some of the fluff and focused on core things that they were dangling, it would have been a better film. But overall,
one of the actually, you know what? There is an element of film I'm actually very happy about. They didn't spend too much time covering.
Okay,
and that is the whole sequence with the wizards.
Yep, they do just enough. So that's it.
If you want, because and this is where this is an element of these interconnected films is nice, because we got a load of a crap ton of exposition and description and discussion with the wizards in Shazam.
Yeah,
this one, it was all we need. We have the visuals, we have the same actor who played, so we already as an audience are making that connection. They go through and you see it, and it's very much all right. These are the wizards. They're doing the chant, and then Shazam, and then boom, he is Black Adam.
Yep.
And we hit the ground running there. What I don't like is the lack of acknowledging Shazam in this film, because Black Adam is predominantly a counterpoint to Shazam, and instead they went somewhere else, which I can kind of see why they went somewhere else, because there is a lot of interest and with Warner Brothers acquisition or whatnot, and the new leadership, and trying to go through and really kind of revitalize this whole DC property group. They had to throw out something to really drum up some excitement, but it's not enough to really save the film. I call it a 2 out of 5. Ry, what'd you call it?
I'm not too far ahead of you. I said 2.5 out of 5. This is a film where it has promise, it has fun. It's that aughts popcorn entertainment, but it lacks any kind of direction. It does too much with too little. and it, you know, you watch it, you go yay, and then you just kind of walk out. So
Now-
2.5 out of 5.
Yeah. Now we say this 2.5 out of 5 movie rental, Friday night rental. Here's the thing. But we have to make sure we give you a well-rounded opinion. We got to take a moment and acknowledge the fact that Black Adam is beat Venom in the fact that the critic score, which I'm an amateur critic, Ry's an amateur critic, because, you know, we look for certain things when we're watching films. The critic score versus the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes is so different.
Yeah.
Like, audiences are rating this like in the 80s. Critics are giving it in like the 30s. So you have this huge 50-point gap between what critics think of the film and what the audiences think of the film.
40 for critics and 90 for audience.
So I have to acknowledge this movie is a lot of fun to watch.
It is.
If you're a fan of the comic book films and you want to check this out and you want to just get sucked along for the ride, they nailed it on those aspects.
Yeah. They don't dwell too much on the things, so even if the bad stuff is there, the good stuff kind of outweighs the bad if you are into it. So
yeah, I mean, it's a summer film. It's a lot of fun, but from a critical standpoint, from a like, okay, when I compare this to other movies I really enjoy, this doesn't stack up very well for me. But hey, go check it out. Tell us what you think in the comments.
Let us
below.
know. Tell us if you agree or disagree. Right there. Comment, my peoples.
Tell us if there was a scene that sticks out in your mind after watching the film and spending a couple hours thinking about it.
The best scene of the movie was when it was over. Ha 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 ha.
Oh no,
I'm just kidding.
I really like that post-credit scene.
Oh yeah, post-credit scene was good. I had a pop in my theater when that happened.
I love Viola Davis as Amanda Waller.
Oh yeah.
Alrighty, so cover Black Adam. Now we're going to talk about another one. Oh, excuse me a second.
Bless you.
Thank you. Ooh, got that sneeze going. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you need to get it out when we're ready and for a journey.
Yep. All right. So let's go on a journey
into Middle Earth.
All right. This one is the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power on Amazon. Season 1 is out. All 8 episodes, roughly an hour apiece. For the latter ones, it's a little over an hour, like hour 10, hour 15.
They get long.
But, you know, this series, highly anticipated.
Very highly anticipated. Yeah.
High production value.
They put a lot of money into this show.
$450 million for this season.
Yeah. A lot of money, people.
A lot of money for this. But, and this is set, if you're not familiar with it, this is set in the second age of Middle Earth.
Yes, sir.
So it's thousands of years before the events of Lord of the Rings. And I gotta say, coming out the gate, this was a lot of fun to watch.
Yes.
It's kind of a slow burn at the start.
It's a very slow burn. There is a lot of people that slow burn can coincide, but some people the slowness can detract. But if you like that kind of like slow build up, it does help in building towards what happens throughout the journey with all these different characters.
Oh yeah, and so for this we got I want to say we have 3 or 4 storylines that we're following.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about each of those storylines and our thoughts on that. Let's start with Elrond.
All right.
So we have Elrond, who has been tasked to go with the Forge Master, and he ends up reconnecting with his friend Doran of the Dwarven Kingdom of Khazad-dûm.
Yes.
So we have that whole bit where for Elrond, it's been 20 years since he saw his friend.
Yep.
And his friend's a little irritated that, 20 years, you don't call, you don't write, you don't visit. Like, seriously.
Speed dial, people. Speed dial.
Which is funny when you think about this, because these are the guys this is the kind of stuff that started the whole high fantasy and kind of set the tone and set the expectation. Well, dwarfs live for centuries and elves live for centuries. It's like, but it's just that bit of time there, you know. And I think it goes to showing the whole thing where, like with elves, because they live so long.
Yeah, they are pretty much immortal, and they can only die. They can't die of regular death. They can only die in battle.
Yeah, only die in battle, but it's the fact that for them, time is just
non-existent, pretty much.
I mean, which is great for good artisans and craftspeople.
Yeah.
When you have plenty of time to hone your craft, but you know, some of the mortal races, as they call them.
Yep.
But I think it's really nice dynamic, the whole elf and dwarf thing, because if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings, you know there's a lot of animosity between elves and dwarves.
Yes, there is.
Not really sure why.
Well, they might get into it this series, but
I'm sure there's reasons, but it seems very. It seems like the reasons are situational,
minute, a little bit, you know.
But I think it's a very fun dynamic because I think we get to see dwarves in a way we've never seen them in a Lord of the Rings property. Like right now, we've had 3 instances of dwarves. We've had dwarves in the Lord of the Rings, with Gimli being the predominant dwarf we saw throughout all of that.
Yep.
We have The Hobbit, which of course centers around a troop of dwarves reclaiming their homeland.
Yep.
But again, it's in both of those, you're visiting abandoned kingdoms, or when you see their kingdoms in their heyday, it's only for a brief moment. This is the first time we've seen dwarves on their day-to-day lives in a thriving kingdom. Not, oh, we've been displaced by a dragon, or we've lost all of our property in the south, so now or the north, or wherever Lord of the Rings takes place, and all we find are just the tomb versions of these old places.
Yeah, you get to see the culture of the dwarves. You get to see, you know, the gods they are, the Maiar that they worship, and you also get to see, you know, families and female dwarves, and certain aspects of their mining, and you know, the conflict within, you know, between father and son and king, and what is the right way and what is the wrong way.
Yeah, I think that's the thing I like the most, is like we're not seeing Doran as king.
No,
he's prince.
Yep, his father is still king.
His father is still king, and I love his wife. She is such a fun.
She is one of my favorite characters in the film. Her name is Disa, and her played by Sophia Nomvet. So,
love her. She is just such a fun character to see.
Yeah, and it's just good to see that it's just that dynamic between Elrond and Durin. You get to see friendship, you get to see a clash of cultures, and the great thing is that you get to see an intriguingly developed relationship that is built on their races and what is best for both clans.
Yeah. Next storyline we have that we're following through has to deal with an elf who's at a watchtower on like the Southland border, and he has
Arondir.
Yep. And he has spent the last almost 80 years at this post, wandering around the humans who live in this area, and getting to know them, and it feels a bond to him.
Yep.
And he's told that his watchtower is being shut down, and he is conflicted. He doesn't want to leave.
Yeah, because there's still some kind of mysteries and things happening in the Southlands.
I think that's just the mystery comes up, but his reason for staying was because he has an attachment to a woman, and he is conflicted over that. It's just they happen to stumble across that there's been a long running plan, and they're just catching it at some point, and you don't realize how long running that plan is.
You don't know
until later in the series, which is great. I love that in this storyline.
Yeah.
But his is kind of interesting because it's that whole his storyline focuses is really kind of gives you more interactions with the orcs in the season.
Yeah.
And what they're working on, and how that's conflicting with the Southlands, because that's where a lot of this is the Southlands for this. If you know what that's end up being, then you're great. You're a great Lord of the Rings person. I'm not spoiling it.
You're a great prognosticator, people. Then we
have, but tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel that the Elrod story and this other story, these two have roughly an equal amount of screen time.
Yeah, they do, because they're like the subplots that build into the main storyline. Well, there's actually 4 plot lines.
There's 4 plot lines, but I think these two are fairly equal in the amount of time we spend on those. Then we have the last 2, which I think is a definite disproportionate amount of time spent. We have the Heartfoots and the stranger who falls from the sky.
Yep.
Since they didn't confirm who he is, I'm not going to mention any theories. You have to watch it, make your own conclusions.
Yep.
But this is interesting because it's the small folk of the North, or the small folk, and they have this very nomadic, very kind of cool lifestyle.
Yep. So the Harfoots are basically the descendants of the hobbits, but they don't. There's no Shire or no anything.
Ancestors.
So yeah, there you go. That's the word. Ancestors.
I would think they're more the ancestors or distant relations.
Distant relations. So they are, like you said, nomadic. So they travel from place to place, and they are guided by the stars and whatnot. And their dynamic is built through the interest in the stranger, and especially with between the stranger and a Nori, Brandyfoot. So yeah,
she's that one wants to go out and explore the world.
She's yearning for adventure.
Yeah, because you got to have that character.
Yeah,
and then we get to the main crux storyline, where all these others converge at some point.
Yeah, and
that is Galadriel.
Yep,
and her quest to find Sauron and rid Middle Earth of this horrible threat, which is kind of funny that we're coming in on this, and she has this long adventure, so to speak, where she goes to different. This is through her you see Numenor, through her you see the King of the Southlands, and where these other 2 storylines all converge, so to speak. Not so much with the stranger yet.
Yeah.
But it's a very interesting thing. But the reason I say it's like you have 2 storylines that are kind of equal in their screen time. Then we have one that's really really predominant in the storyline or in the screen time, and then we have one that's very minor in the screen time.
That's the minor subplot, but the main one is Galadriel, and then you're just watching her because she's on this quest of vengeance. And what it does, I think, it actually shows a different side of Galadriel that most people are familiar with, because she's like broken and fragile, and just kind of like she wants to achieve this mission at all cost. And it makes her, team up with another person by the name of Halbrand that she meets out in sea. And pretty much their dynamic builds up and leads to a certain thing, and brings all the stories together, and then highlights the importance of what it is important to her mission and what is going to be her footing going forward.
Yeah, so I overall I would say this is a solid 4.5 out of 5 for me. Yeah,
I don't really give ratings on TV shows, but it was very enjoyable. It's a very high watch. I do recommend it for anybody that's a big fan of not only Lord of the Rings and Middle Earth, but fantasy as well. Because what they do in here is that they provide that pure sense of escapism. With the luscious worlds and the different character dynamics, you're going to find at least 1 or 2 characters or plot lines that you want to follow along, no matter which one it is. So.
Oh yeah. So what are you gonna give it out of your scale to 5?
Okay, I will do that. I will give it a 4 out of 5. It starts off a little slow, but eventually it starts to sprinkle in a steady pace and starts to build on different things. I enjoyed being a huge Tolkien fanatic and a Middle Earth fanatic, watching certain things come to life visually, and the foreshadowing of certain things to come in the Second Age. It's just it builds up that anticipation, and especially how it ends. It ends with a lot of questions with fun answers to see what happens.
Oh yeah, I think the creative freedom or the creative liberties they've taken for some of the writing and some of the way they're telling the story is just great. It really kind of pulls the whole thing together.
Yeah.
So take it as is. This is
it's an adaptation
of Tolkien's work. And I think they made some really good choice. I think they made really nice choices, and I think they set up a lot of things that. Now, this was something I was telling a coworker today because I was talking about it. I said there are interactions with this season between characters that when you watch Lord of the Rings, some scenes are going to feel a lot different now.
Yep, it is. And the one thing that the showrunner says is that there's a lot of introductions and stuff done in this that won't be paid off for a couple seasons. So it's a lot of setup, but a lot of potential for greatness.
Well, like you said, they've pre-planned 5 seasons, which is great.
5 seasons.
So if they've pre-planned 5 seasons and they're laying the framework now for something we'll see pay off in a future season, all we got to do is hope that Amazon's going to keep this running all the way through to the end of the 5th season.
I hope so. They invested a lot.
I hope so. But yeah, that's Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. Check it out on Amazon Prime. Phenomenal series. Yeah, there was a lot of hate and discontent, a lot of backlash, but I think that's you have to take into concept that they got the rights to do Lord of the Rings and its appendices. They did not get any of the licensing rights for the Silmarillion or any of the extra essays and stuff that go into a lot more details. So they're using what they can, and they're telling a story that it may have a couple of beats that are different than this other stuff, but it is not terrible.
Yeah, it is an adaptation, people. So remember that when you go from one medium to another, you do have to take certain liberties to make it fit that medium.
Yep.
And that's coming from a die-hard Middle-earth Tolkien fan. So remember that, people.
Alrighty. Wow, here we go. 40 minutes in.
Oh, yes.
All right. Let's see. What do we got for news?
Big news out of DC.
Oh, yeah. We got to hit that.
So
here's some newsy things. DC Studios has announced that James Gunn and Peter Safran will be co-CEOs.
Yes.
Of the DC arm of Warner Brothers.
Yeah. So when David Zaslav merged and purchased Warner Brothers and merged it with Discovery, one of the big things is that he wanted to separate DC and make its own studio, kind of like how Disney has Marvel Studios separated. And he did a wide search, and he settled on 2 people. James.
Well, he had somebody, but that person stepped away.
Yeah, he stepped away because of certain things. But now I think he actually settled on a better option, because not only does he have 1 great head, but he has 2 great heads with the Gunn and Safran.
And they're not just in charge of the films; they're in charge of all DC.
They are
properties.
Yeah, they are the creative architect of more than the films. They got the TV shows, they got the animated shows, they got the comics. So they will hold the titles, quote, this is from Variety, of co-chairman and chief executive officer of DC Studios. And that includes arsenal of comic book villains and heroes across film, TV, streaming, animation, and beyond. So.
Well, I mean, James Gunn did the latest Suicide Squad, which wasn't bad. He did Peacemaker.
Yeah.
Peter Safran, he did The Conjuring.
Yeah, he's done a lot of producing films for Warner Brothers. So outside, he's done The Conjuring, he's done some of the horror stuff. He's also helped produce Shazam, Aquaman, The Suicide Squad for James Gunn, as well as the hit show Peacemaker on HBO Max. So,
yeah,
and he's got his hands in a lot of different things, and he's shown his worth. So I think it's in good hands, especially with James Gunn and his creative quirks. And he's already got plans for some other shows. So we'll see how they do with the future projects.
Alrighty. So next up, since it is Halloween, let's talk about some Halloween fun stories.
So Halloween stuff.
All right, you lead us off, Ryan. What are we going to talk about first?
With Halloween fun, there's no any particular article and things, but it's just focused on things that we look forward to in Halloween, and that is dressing up, candies, and also a fun thing to do with pumpkins. So first, every year there's always top costumes that you have. So also from Variety, they do have some top costumes coming into 2022. So some of the big ones that, if you're familiar with the properties that have dropped this year, you have Eddie from Stranger Things, the Valerians from House of the Dragon in their weddings. So they're giving you different ways on how to do it with the costumes. So you can dress up as Viserys from out there. Velma is another top pick. Elvis, because the Elvis biopic dropped this year. If you're familiar with
that was always a pick just for cosplay in general.
Yes.
I mean, if you sit on Instagram long enough, you're gonna see a half a dozen different Velma cosplays.
Oh yeah. So I'm not gonna name all of these. I'm just pinpointing some big ones that people would rock with. Miss Marvel is a big pick this year. We do know Miss Marvel dropped on Disney Plus. You do have Kate Sharma from Bridgerton, which is a big show on Netflix. And then some other interesting picks. You got Moon Knight. You have Galadriel, not to forget, Rings of Power, and so forth. So those are just some of the top costumes. Oh, I can't forget about the man, the myth, the legend, Maverick from Top Gun. He is a top pick for a costume this year as well.
Gee.
So, yeah, there's a variety. If you look it up on Variety's website, they'll give you a list of not only the top picks, but actually where to get the specific items to dress up as your favorite character. So... yeah, so there's some in there I think you can pull off, Scoob. I think. Pull off the Doctor Strange?
Maybe not.
Maybe not. All right, well, it was worth the shot.
Some very cool costumes. I like how they not only talk about the character, but they give you some recommendations on what the different clothing pieces to bring it together.
Yeah. You can dress up as Queen Elizabeth.
You do more of those those than I do.
I will take one for the team, Scoob. I'll take one for the team.
Yeah. I remember when you dressed up as Jackie Kennedy.
Yes, it was great. Speaking of sweetness, we can't forget about candy.
Oh, we're gonna start about some candy. I mean, yeah, it is Halloween.
Yeah.
Candy.
So there is a website called See Live. They actually put together a list of the top 10 candies in America, and they based it off of data.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I heard about this one.
Yeah, based it off of data from shopping cabinets from candystore.com for 15 years, so from 2007 to 2021.
Which is funny. Nationally, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups is the top candy.
Yeah.
But when you go state by state, it's not.
Oh, yeah. So they do have different things for different states. But, yep, you gave away the number one, which is Reese's Cups.
Yeah, I like Reese's Cups.
Yep, so, and then just doing a rundown from there. Skittles, M&M's, Starburst, Hot Tamale, Sour Patch Kids, Hershey Kisses, Snickers, Tootsie Pops, and Candy Corn to wrap out the top 10.
Candy corn still on here, man?
I have no idea.
One of the hardest things to eat because it's got like no flavor.
When we did the list last year, candy corn was still there.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Candy corn was still on that list.
No, I guess it's always going to be because it's orange and white and whatnot.
Yeah.
Other interesting tidbits. 172 million Americans celebrate Halloween.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of people.
30% of Halloween purchases are made online.
That's interesting.
95% of those celebrating are going to purchase candy.
Yep.
They're going to spend on average $27.
I think that's a good average. You know, you're not breaking too much of the budget right there, but you know.
In Oregon, full-size candy bars are the norm for trick-or-treaters. Obviously, we're in the wrong state for
trick-or-treating. I think we need a move. But I would say this. Whenever I was a kid in trick-or-treating and we did come a house and they gave us a full candy bar, I always appreciated that fact.
See, now I'm a parent, so I totally do this one. 50% of parents stash some Halloween candy to enjoy later in the year.
I think number for me is a little bit higher.
But the expected expenditure... $10.6 billion on Halloween.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Well, I think that's a lot of money, yes, but I also think it's really kind of funny considering Halloween is you blink and you miss it in the store.
Boom. Just like that.
I mean, Halloween's up and the next thing you know, everything's Christmas.
Yeah. It's just literally once you hit midnight, flip that light, put on that Mariah Carey, and sing along, people. Sing along.
Not even that. I mean, we're talking, you go to the stores, it's like, yeah, they have the Halloween stuff for the first 2 weeks of October, which was when they say most people do their Halloween shopping. After that, all Christmas all the time.
My Halloween shopping is the day before, but, you know, that's just me.
Yeah, don't need that temptation. Yeah. Let's resist temptation. All right, story number 3 for Halloween fun shenanigans.
So another thing that people like to do, you know, you have the pumpkin, you like to carve the pumpkin, you like to have the pumpkin pie. So there are some...
We all don't sit in the pumpkin patch and look for the great pumpkin, Charlie Brown?
Not everybody.
Oh.
But anyways, Yahoo News actually has 8 different things you can do with your pumpkin outside, just doing the typical things. So
typical things being carve it up to make pie or carve it up for jack-o'-lanterns or my personal favorite,
What is it?
Pumpkin chunkin.
Okay, I see what you did there. I see what you did there. So,
who doesn't love a giant air cannon fired a pumpkin and then hoping you don't pie?
Yeah, just run, people, run. But until you run, just some things that they pointed out, 8 things. One is turning your pumpkin into a light, so making pumpkin lights.
Oh, little candle lights. That's not bad.
All right, or you can turn your pumpkin and make it a soup bowl.
I mean, bread bowls, soup bowls. I mean, it is a gourd type thing.
Yeah, thinking of a bowl, another way you can use your pumpkin is turn it into like a cooler. So put some ice and some beer in there.
I like this one. It's like, hey, we're gonna have a few We're gonna have some of those pumpkin spice ales.
Yeah, let's drink with our pumpkin. Another thing you can turn is like, hey, what else can you do with the pumpkin but make it an ornament on your table?
Yeah, until it rots.
Another thing which goes into like the beer and the thing soup, you can turn it into a pot. And what I mean,
can see doing this: make a jack-o'-lantern, put flowers in it, and then when you're ready, just dig a hole, bury the whole thing.
Just pull it. Another thing you can do: hey, you always need somewhere to put a number for your address. Why not use your pumpkin and put your address on there? You know,
that's pretty clever.
Yeah.
I think I like that one. Little spray paint stencil and say here's our thing, because if you get a whole pumpkin and don't touch it and let it sit, you can have it cover for Halloween and Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah. Another thing is, well, you can with the smaller pumpkins, this is more for a party thing. You can go and make it an ornament and then put a name with a ribbon tied to it so that each table knows who's sitting where. Yeah, who's sitting where. Another thing is a flock party, so you can turn it into
a bird feeder.
Bird feeder, pretty much. And that's all what we got.
That's some interesting uses, creative uses for pumpkins. Really kind of, you get that bio recycling.
Yep. Oh yeah. So if you have your pumpkin, at least you can use it for other things. I'm still being taken aback by how much people spend on Halloween. I flipped back to that article and it goes right there. 10.6 billion. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's expected.
That's expected.
I'm sure we'll find out afterwards how much people actually spent.
All right.
And it makes you wonder, though, because you got the holiday season, and
how much?
A lot of money on holiday season.
Yeah, I don't, unless it's on me.
Yeah, well, we're just cogs in the great consumer machine that is Christmas.
The American way.
Alrighty. Next up, we got some odds and ends.
Not too many, because not a lot of stuff I could find this week, but that's okay because it's Halloween.
A quiet week before Halloween is a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing. So, but still some fun odds and ends. So, what do we have on deck first?
A girl 10 years old conquers all of the Monroe Mountains in Scotland.
Yes. So, you always hear about people taking up the mountains and taking up the fondness of hiking. And you usually see it's older people, people with experience. Well, a 10-year-old girl has become the youngest people to conquer all 282 Monroe Mountains in Scotland.
She started when she was 4.
Yes. Yes.
And so she started, in 6 years, she has climbed all of these different mountains. It's kind of funny. I was having breakfast today at my favorite breakfast haunt, and they were running a story on the news. You couldn't hear it, but it was talking about an 8-year-old kid who summited El Capitan in Yosemite.
That is interesting.
Freehand climb. I mean, granted, belay and ropes, but climbed El Capitan.
Yeah.
8 years old.
I don't even want to climb the stairs. Go, 8-year-old. You are my hero.
Again, movie person or whatever. I know a lot of people really think Star Trek V was a crap movie. I don't disagree. However, the opening sequence of Kirk trying to climb El Capitan and falling is by far one of my favorites. Even if it foreshadows something later in the film, it's really kind of hilarious. The whole camping in Yosemite.
Yeah.
And climbing El Capitan. I was thinking about that when I was thinking about this kid. It's like, El Capitan's huge. I'd love to go see it, but man, 8-year-old and climbed it with rock climbing gear and stuff. Yeah. Dude, that's awesome.
Yep. So from that 8-year-old to this 10-year-old, you're my hero, because I'm not doing that. I like hiking, but that's a lot of mountains.
Oh yeah, you should totally check out the story. We'll have links in the description.
Yeah, and it's a reported credit to BBC.
Of course. All right. I guess we're gonna talk about this because it has to be talked about.
It has to be talked about.
We have to talk about it.
So, as reported in USA Today, where did the article go? Oh, there it goes. As reported in USA Today, everybody knows McDonald's has some unique items that they like to bring or like to create and whatnot. One of those items is the McRib. So, guess what, Scuba? They brought it back. 4 suggested as the last time.
Yeah, see, and I remember hearing about this because I was hearing another commentary on this. Is like, food costs and some other things, and McDonald's might actually not do this again.
Yeah.
But as you pointed out, and as we all know, this is like, marketing ploy. If I'm going to tell you it's for a limited time, if I'm going to tell you I'm never bringing it back, I'm going to drum up interest. And we all know that in the end, the almighty $sign is going to dictate whether something comes back. Hell, let's look at those nacho fries from Taco Bell. First time they came out, it was kind of blink and miss. And then it comes back, and every time it comes back, it lasts for just a little bit longer.
Just a little bit. So, based on the article in USA Today, quote, they said it's going to be coming back a limited time until November 20th. And they said that this is supposed to be the last hurrah. Sounds like an ad from Hanes. This is the final weekend,
Well, I would give it some credence because there are a lot of McDonald's products over the years that have not come back.
Yeah, there are. There's the McPizza. There's the chicken wrap. And there's something else. I don't remember. I don't care.
Pizza?
There was a McPizza. McDonald's did do pizza in the 90s for a short, limited time.
Yeah, I remember when they did delivery for a little bit.
That I don't remember.
Oh, yeah. I think you might have been in elementary school.
Another item that they did at McDonald's, which was gone in a blink and you missed it, is the Arch Deluxe.
Oh, right. I actually remember that one.
Oh, yeah. So the Arch Deluxe was another one that was a blink and you missed. McDonald's also had wings for a time, too.
That's true.
But
yeah, everybody tried to do wings at some point.
But, yep, this is a cult following. And as they described it in USA, quote, 520-calorie sandwich layered with boneless pork coated in barbecue sauce and topped with a sliver of onions and dill pickles.
Yeah. I don't like these things. Yep. I look at it, I'm thinking injection mold.
Yeah, if I'm going to eat something that's 520 calories, I'm going to eat actual ribs from a rack from a restaurant. But
I'm sorry. I look at the McRib and I look at that and the texture. It tells me injection molding.
Yep. Let's go eat the fake meat, Americans.
All righty. Well, on that note, we are done. We are wrapping it up and setting sail for this week. Hopefully, we're not going to the Undying Lands. We're going to go back over to Middle Earth and see what happens for season 2 of Rings of Power. Or some people, they're going to log into Middle Earth in a little while and play that for a while. I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know who does that.
I don't know who does that, Rar Guy. I don't know, but we'll sell you at another time.
Yep. All right. So again, a shout out and a thank you to Sirenscape for the background music soundboards.
Thank you.
Check them out, sirenscape.com. Again, we were listening to the Call of Cthulhu sound set for tonight because it's getting ready for Halloween. Stay safe. Do all the things. If you're enjoying the show and whatnot, be sure to hit the like, the subscribe, and the little bell notification. Where's that at? Where's that bumper? Oh, there's that plug. We'll run that plug right there.
Somewhere around me, people.
If you're listening to us on audio, please give us a review, give us a share, give us a like, and a subscribe. Much appreciated. That's the best way to help promote the show. Tell us what you think. If you're checking it out on video, be sure to leave a comment down below. Let us know what you thought of it. Facebook comments through Scuba Studio's Facebook page, all that fun stuff. We greatly appreciated. If you want to do more, you could totally go over to patreon.com/Scuba Studio and consider being a patron there.
Thank you.
Hey, did you know YouTube actually put out tags, handles?
Really? That is cool.
Yeah, we have ours. At Scuba Studio.
At Scuba Studio.
Yeah, so you go to youtube.com/@Scubas Studio.
All right, check us out. Subscribe, like, do everything.
All that stuff. With that, you guys have a great evening. We love you. We appreciate you. And we will see you next week. Bye.
Peace.
Closing. Where's that closing?
Close, 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 and surf. And surf. and surf, and surf, and chug, and chug, and surf, and surf, and surf.
There we go. I like this one. Good night, everybody.
Good night.